Well, joining me now is Pauline Neville-Jones, Baroness Neville-Jones, former chair of the Joint Intelligence Committee and also a former security minister. Thank you very much for being with us. So, first of all, what do you make of a former soldier suspected of gathering information for Iran being allowed to escape in such a way?
Well, it's rather bad news. It seems to me that he ought not to have been in any sort of circumstance in which he could actually escape. So, I mean, extraordinary custody arrangements.
So you think he was in the wrong prison? You think he should have been in a much more high security prison, do you?
Well, I think wrong handling, certainly, yeah.
And the escape of a terror suspect like this is a problem clearly for Wandsworth Prison, but also it is a political problem, as you will know as a former security minister, a problem for the government.
Yes, it is. I mean, no, we do have to find him. I don't think there's no option here. He has to be found. And this will count against him. That question.
So what will be going on in the corridors of MI5 and the security services, and what will be happening now? Give us a sense of what will be going on.
I mean, what people will now be doing, I mean, is focusing on what leads they have, by way of what connections did this man have, what do they know about his antecedents, where could he conceivably go for help, all the things that you have to do, if you're actually on the tail of someone. I mean, that's what, in many respects, this will be actually something in which the police know more about than members of the intelligence services.
Yeah, my understanding is that there's some sort of counter-terror presence in many prisons. And yet, if that is true, I mean, how was this guy allowed to work in a prison kitchen, for example, which is known to be quite a vulnerable area of prisons?
Well, it's obviously a soft area, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can't answer that question. I mean, clearly there's something wrong, seems to me, with the way his custody has been rated. I mean, you can't take a risk of that kind. Now, he may have played a very soft hand, he may have seemed very reasonable, etc., but something's gone wrong here.
Is this though where it does start to get difficult for the government, Baroness? That when you start now, people all day have been talking about the state of our prisons, the understaffing in our prisons, the low morale in our prisons, and yet it is our prisons that have to look after people like this, and certainly before charge. He was on remand, this guy, before a court hearing, rather.
Yes. Well, different rules apply, of course, at different stages of any kind of legal procedure. But clearly, I mean, one can't know, from the outside whether this is a case of them being short-staffed, not being adequate number of people on duty at the time, or whether he was, I mean, categorically simply in the wrong sort of custody regime, which it does seem to me would be the case, but that may have been aggravated by lack of staff. There is no activity, as far as I can see, in the United Kingdom at the moment that isn't short of staff.
No. And if you were security minister now, what would you be thinking?
I must say, I would be, I would be very concerned about getting hold of the man. And I would obviously be following what was going on and thinking of, they will obviously need to investigate exactly, where things went wrong. But you will have to think about the regime that people of his type, are under. And it does sound as if it was all too easy for him to get away.
Yeah. Would you be worried about your job?
It depends where all the fault lay. I don't know how many times, when something goes wrong, that you can oblige resignation right up the line and chain of command. I mean, you'd have to exercise some common sense, it seems to me, about where the fault actually lay.
Yeah, well, all very
But
interesting.
these are issues that ministers do have to consider. I mean, they do have to think about whether they've been in charge of a system which has been inherently faulty, or whether this is something that we really couldn't have anticipated. But I do think there is a problem at the moment about the staffing of almost all our public institutions.
Okay, and I mean, do you think that is something that this government should be thinking seriously about now?
Well, it's a question of how many people you can hire. I mean, I don't think it's the case that the government is averse to hiring. It's a question of whether you can actually get the people to take the jobs.
Yeah. Okay, Baroness Neville-Jones, thank you for coming on. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.